So I'm working on the Polaris Scrambler again. I noticed a play in my clutches. I had the secondary clutch apart and I saw that the Teflon was worn off the bushings and that it was all that brass color showing. So I figured it was time to replace those. And I could wiggle my primary clutch around. The top cover, when it was on the quad, I could feel it just kind of like shuffle a little bit. I was worried it was the crank bearings, but upon closer inspection, I could see it was actually this outer cover here that had the bad bearing. I have it apart. I bought this shitty Amazon kit. I don't know if I'd recommend it yet. I haven't taken the whole thing apart, but so far, I mean, the decompression tool worked. You could probably make one yourself with some all thread, a couple of washers and nuts. Save yourself a buck. Or you could just probably take it off. The springs on these aren't very strong. The inside of these bushings are supposed to have a Teflon coating. And from what I read online, that when the coating's gone, they're pretty much screwed. Now the rest of this clutch looks pretty alright, so I'm assuming what happened was whoever owned this before me parked it for a while. It got rust on it, and the rust probably caused some premature failure. The shaft itself seems pretty straight and smooth still, so there's nothing wrong with that. It probably just wore itself down with abrasive rust. So, in order to remove this bushing, it needs to be pressed out or hammered out with something. The outside of this cover has a ridge in there. This side does not, so it has to come out through the back, and it has to be put in this way as well. I'm going to try and just tap it in normally with a piece of like very hard wood or some composite stuff that I have. And if that doesn't work or it starts to go wrong, I'm going to try and make a hydraulic press using probably a bottle jack and my truck. The tool to remove the spider doesn't fit the adapter. It's the square and it's cut too small or off center. You have to file it out, but it does fit on the clutch. So wasn't so bad. Doesn't seem like 200 foot-pounds. So after it's broken free, it just unscrews. You'll notice the buttons keep getting higher and higher, and they're going to fall out of there if you keep doing that. So you can hold this part up and turn it, or you just let them fall out. I'm replacing them anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So now I have to get the bearing back in. Ideally, I would have a hydraulic press and the dies to push this in, something to support the center while holding the ridge of it. But I don't. So this is the actual clutch decompression tool. And it comes with washers that are quite large. So I think I'm going to put one of those over top. I'm going to use that to draw the bearing in. Most of the forum posts say that people who tap it in somehow collapse it. I'm assuming they mean with a punch and destroying the edges of it, like I did when I took it out. Then I also saw the forum post about a tool where they use a draw-through system, which is what this would be. So I'm guessing this is probably the best way to do it. It'll keep it the most straight, but the problem is it's only going to sit flush with this surface here, and it needs to go in and to sit flush with the ridge on the other side. Now the whole Amazon toolkit comes with this, the nut removal tool. This clutch doesn't have a nut, and it's almost the exact diameter as the bearing, so I might cut all these nubs off and then reduce the outer diameter a little bit, and then I'll just probably tap it in the rest of the way once it's started. At least then it'll be concentric. Ended up making a washer that would keep the clutch centered. It fits the inner diameter of this recess here. Without it, it was moving around quite a bit on me, so I didn't press the bushing in, but now you see it'll keep itself centered on here. Okay, well, let's tighten this down and see what the heck happens. I'm going to keep an eye on it and make sure it's going in evenly. Doesn't appear to be, so I'm going to get a hammer, give it a little tap on this side. There we go, that evened it up. Let's see if it keeps doing that. Okay, here we go. I don't know if this is going to work. Seems to be going a lot smoother now. I think we might have got it straightened up. Let's back this off and take a look at it. That looks pretty even. That looks pretty good to me. It's definitely not going in hard. It's pretty easy to turn this, and the hammer really taps it in easy too. I'm pretty sure when people screwed it up, it was mostly people just tapping it in with a punch and probably painting the edges over. It's turning very easy now. Yeah, looks like we got it straightened out. It's just going on. That is very even. The gap is about the same on all sides, so it is going in straight. Okay, and that's bottomed out. Careful not to scratch the Teflon when you take that out. Yeah, that's pretty good. But it's not all the way in. It has to go all the way up until it touches that shoulder. So that's where the next piece comes into play. The nut tool. I'm gonna probably end up cutting all those nubs off, and then I just have to touch this probably with the belt sander all the way around, and then it'll fit in. It fits and it slides. So, and it's a lot tighter than before. It's gonna break in nicely. Before it was quite wobbly. So yeah, it is possible to push that in almost all the way without collapsing it like the forums say. So I modified my tool here. I cut the nubs off. I turned down the outside a little bit. And it fits over the bearing pretty much perfectly with a little bit of space. If I can zoom into this bearing, it has a little bit of a bevel, and then the top is flat. So you want to sit on the flat part no matter what size tool you have. If your tool bevels inward like the end of a socket, you're probably going to mushroom out the end of this bearing. So I wouldn't recommend doing that. None of my sockets really fit right, so that's why I'm not doing it. Typically I would. You know, sockets are the poor man's press dies, so I think I was just going to hit it in with a hammer, but that little pull-through tool thing I made out of the clutch decompression tool seems to work really well, so I might just put this back in a vise, put the tool through it, and just torque it down the rest of the way. Okay, I'm using the other vise because it's raining outside, but as you can see, we got to draw that bearing down until it hits that shoulder. Now on some of these clutches, it appears that that shoulder could be some sort of other bushing or stop, so make sure it's not removable and stop when it starts feeling tight. I'm probably going to back it off a few times while I'm doing this, just to make sure I'm not going too much, because I really don't want to crush this bearing. So you really want to make sure this thing's centered. There's not a lot of room for air, and when you're tightening it down, there's a chance you could gouge the side of your clutch. So get it centered, tighten it a bit, and if it starts looking off center, definitely stop. You don't want to gouge the sides of this like journal thing. That was a little bit off there too. Okay. I'm going to back it off. I went in a little bit so I can really tell where I'm centered now.
Remember, we don't have a long ways to go with this, so. Feels very, very good. Nice and smooth, and that's what's important here. Okay, that got tight, so I think I might be up against the shoulder. Now when you do that, you really don't want to reef on it. Okay, it got tighter, but it didn't come down to the end. So, yeah, put it all back together and try a little bit more. Just gonna ease into it. Okay, I got tight again. I'm gonna back it off once again. Okay, it's getting tight, but we have about 1/8 of an inch to go. It's gonna be kind of hard to see that on the camera. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's see if we can get it down the final leg. Okay, that feels good. Watch the Teflon. There we have it. That is all the way around. Get me on the phone here or something. Look at that. Right up against the edge. Absolutely zero need to snug that up anymore. That is just perfect. And the top of the bearing where we drew it in looks great too. Looks fantastic. You can see the marks where the bearing made a little bit of scratches on the aluminum, but so did the last one coming out. I buffed it with some steel wool and it looks fine. So yeah, there's one bearing done. So make sure to clean up this shaft too. Mine had a bit of crap on there, just worn bushing material, and there are some black spots here. That looks like pitting. I thought it was Teflon material, but it didn't come off, so I'm going to hit it with this Brillo pad. Let's see what comes off. Oh, beauty. Absolutely perfect. There's the ever so slightest amount of play, but that shaft probably has wear on it as well. So yeah, that was a successful bearing install. Here's the secondary clutch or the driven clutch. This one has two bushings on it on the same piece. As you can see, one's the same size as we've been changing previously, but the inside one's a little bit longer. Same diameter, a little bit longer. I might have to make a tool to pull that out. I'm not sure if hammering it's going to do the job, but I'm going to give it a try first, I guess. So that wasn't too bad. The first bushing, the skinnier one, it came out just like the other ones. Pretty easy. This longer one, though, it put up a bit of a fight. I pounded on it a bit with the chisel and came to the conclusion it needs some heat, so I took my clutch buttons out. I put a good amount of heat on it, right on that bearing. Sprayed some WD-40 on it. Very cold WD-40. I don't know if it sucked any in or not, but it definitely made that bearing smaller because a few good whacks freed it right up. So this one probably going to need a little bit of heat, but it will come out of there. About halfway out, it really let go, so I think putting this bearing in isn't going to be as scary as I thought. But we'll see here in a bit. I'm going to get this thing cleaned up. I'm going to take some fine steel wool. This thing feels kind of shitty. You can tell where that split in the race was, so I'm going to get that polished up nice and smooth. Hopefully it'll aid in guiding it in, and I'll be right back. About to press the bushing in here. I pushed down on the washer and it actually started about 1/8 of an inch, so it's going to be straight starting it. Oh yeah, it's working its way down there nicely. It's just going unevenly. This was the only one I was worried about. So,
gotta go in a long way.
Yeah, but this one only seats flush too.
Is it just flush with the back of the sheave here?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's...
Yeah, it's easy. The bushing's on easy mode. The other ones I had to make stuff to make them fit down in there.
Easy peasy.
Oh, that one started with my fingers too. A little bit. So I have everything pretty much wrapped up. I have almost all the bushings in, except for the cover. I'm still waiting on the replacement for it because the bushing had the scratch on it. So after that, it's pretty much done. I went ahead and I deglazed all the sheaves. So these are all like mirror polished pretty much. So to deglaze them, you can do a couple of things. Seems to be pretty heavily debated on the forums, but people say you can use a Brillo pad or you can use sandpaper. I used the Brillo pad, and it worked. Didn't seem very aggressive by any means. It kind of felt pretty smooth, so I went on to sandpaper, and this is the result I got. I don't know which one is the correct way. I've read everything. I said 100, 200, 300, 600 grit sandpaper, red Brillo pad, green Brillo pad, who knows. So just kind of went ahead and did it. While you're in there, you might as well replace the buttons as well. The primary buttons seem to have broken down a little bit over time. The back it's kind of like cracking. It's like a little rubber piece. The hard side is where it slides on. And the driven clutch, the secondary, has this style of button. You can see it has a pretty good groove wore into it. So while you're in there, you can get yourself a new set of buttons from Quad Logic. And you can take this part of the secondary clutch and you can sand these faces down to get grooves worn in them. And all I do is just take some sandpaper and flatten them out. I kind of like counted the amount of times I like sanded, so I'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'd just count until it's smoothed out. And then I'd move to the next one, do the same amount, so it kind of keeps them all equal. I think with the way they wear into the buttons, it probably doesn't Probably doesn't matter a whole lot, but it made sense in my head. So now really the only thing left to do is take it inside. I'm gonna wash everything off with soapy water. I'm gonna make sure the surfaces of the faces of the weights are all nice. There's one that had a bit of rust on it, so I'm gonna polish it up nice and smooth mirror finish. Probably gonna take the rollers out of this while I wash it too. And then it's just time for reassembly, which is not something I'm gonna show on video because it's pretty easy. If you got this far, you know how to put it back together, right? You got your two little washers that go in there. Tighten the spider down to a certain torque spec. Look up the torque specs. These bolts aren't very big, and if you go very tight with them, you will strip it and ruin your clutch. This thing's probably only got like 7 foot-pounds or something like that. So look those up ahead of time. But other than that, you got a fresh clutch.